All right, welcome back to
What up, Eugene?
Of course, I am your co-host, Lars. I am joined, as always, by Dan. How are you doing today, Dan?
Doing excellent. Drinking our usual Deschutes.
Yeah, this is the Mirapon Pale Ale. Now, I have been drinking some of the pretty intense IPAs recently, like the Lagunitas IPA and the beer run, the limited Ninkasi one. But the last beer run I had, it was too bitter for me. So I was like, I'm gonna cool it down. I'm gonna go to a pale ale. I'm gonna enjoy that for a little while. We'll bring it back up. We are joined, as I want to say as always, but it's only our second episode. We are joined by a guest, local Eugene area game developer, Jeronemo. How are you doing today, Jeronemo?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I'm so glad that you're here. We're going to talk all about your Eugene area game development. But before we do, we're going to open our beer. And if, Dan, you want to open the beer, I'll go to the music.
Sure thing.
The peer-reviewed
Beer review.
What we're drinking here is the Dragon Lady Double Bock. It's about $3.50 for 17-ish ounces, so it's a little expensive, but it's 9.7% alcohol, and they do make sure to put a red tag around the neck of the bottle to say that. Of course, this also has this awesome kind of like heavy metal inspired art, just a lady in a bikini and a dragon.
It's amazing. Premium European lager, Double Bock.
Can I take a look at that bottle?
Yeah, here you go.
So if you guys haven't had a Double Bock before, Double Bock is a bit like one of those heavier, like a stout, like one of the heavier beers, but without the thickness. So it's similar in taste, but ideally not so heavy. I don't know if I love or hate this one, but I do know that it's got a lot of alcohol in it.
The bottle cap has some sort of, I'm going to guess it's a Game of Thrones language.
Now, Jeronimo, we have rating systems we use for our drinks on the show. Dan rates things out of 0 to 5 Lars, which is me. I rate things out of 0 to 300 stars. Some people think that's
0 to 300.
It's excessive, is what it is.
It's hard to animate.
Did like the numbers like eventually become stars as you?
Yeah. It's, okay. So the deal is, here's my defense. I always have to defend this. I could do 0 to 3 stars, sure, but I want to do 300 because I'm not giving anyone 300 stars by default. Like if someone earns 100 stars, that's good for them.
That's a lot of stars.
That's a lot of stars. That's more stars than
That's more stars than I've like seen.
Yeah, right.
As a programmer, you deal with decibels. You might argue that instead of 224.
Did you say decibels or decimals?
I said decimals. I'm sure the podcast will show.
Floating point numbers are garbage, Dan.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he could do 224 stars, or he could do 2.24 stars.
No, I think I'll do
but
like
this
16.
is integers. Yeah.
Yeah, 16 bits.
16 bits. Oh, that's cool. Okay. So
0 to 16 bits.
Is that 65,000 or is that 8-bit?
65,000?
65,000 something 65,000.
Oh, you're talking about like bytes?
Yeah. Oh, bytes. I don't know the difference. Yeah. I know like something is 255 and something 65,000. Those numbers show up in Harvest Moon, so I know they're important.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, bytes are 8.
8.
And then
this is like 2 to the 8 and 2 to the 16,
yeah,
right?
So bytes I think are 8, and then bits are just the single.
Yeah.
I could do 16 bytes if you're interested in that. It sounds really wrong.
16-bit.
What do you guys think of the beer?
Here we go. Oh, it smells interesting. Smells like a woman's perfume.
It is a little bit warm. It's a warm room.
This doesn't taste like a beer to me.
What does it taste like to you?
What is this?
It's a double bock. It's got a lot of alcohol in it.
What is this?
It tastes kind of like a wine to me.
It does a little bit.
It's not very bubbly.
This I've had a couple of these in the last week. This tastes a little different.
I think no, you know what it is? It's because we've been drinking. We drank the Deschutes.
Right.
I think it's affecting our palate.
The Deschutes might be colder. I don't know.
We should probably get some water then, if that's the case.
No, we'd have to stop.
Or some crackers.
Spray can
of
plate over there.
So needy over here. Water, crackers,
or some juggling balls.
The Majesty, everything. I think there might be some.
That's what I was looking at them.
I'm gonna have to finish this whole thing. I can't describe it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, just if you guys want to just go to town and get a little bit of a nice little 9.7 buzz going.
Yeah, I mean, I think of two things when I think about this, or when I taste it.
Give it to me. What's your two things?
One is a wine. It's like kind of gone for a while.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it definitely doesn't taste like a good wine.
Yeah. The other is like, I feel like sort of like cheese.
Those are both things that are fermented, like beer.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
don't know.
at least on the surface level, I'm not incorrect.
You're not. No, you definitely are tasting bacteria, which like props to you. God, it does have this really awful French cheese smell.
Yeah.
I haven't poured it in a glass before. I've usually drank it out of the bottle, and so you don't get as much of the smell.
It also honestly just doesn't taste that alcoholic to me, but I guess that's just the flavor overpowering.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think it's decently strong. I haven't chugged one before. I don't know.
I'm trying to imagine chugging.
It's a hard
this.
flavor too. Yeah, I think the fastest I drank one was like over the course of an hour, and I was feeling a little buzzed, but it's hard to tell.
I don't know if I can review this.
Give it to you're allowed to give it 0. I invented the 0 to 300 star system to give a drink 0 stars.
What is it when you can't taste it?
You can't
can't
taste anything
taste
at
it?
all. This thing
is, like, fucking pungent.
I finished the whole Deschutes.
Is it okay if we swear on this?
Yeah, please. Yeah, please
Okay.
swear.
But your mother will hear this. Your cousins.
That's fine.
Yeah.
My cousins, though. Oh,
If I were
jeez.
gonna hang out with my cousins,
jeez.
and God forbid I don't want to hang out with my cousins, but if I were going to, I would swear.
I mean, it all depends. How many followers are we at? Are we ready for the calculations?
Oh yeah, tell me, Dan, what is our follower on
How dare
SoundCloud
you.
status?
Do
Give
we
us
have
the
a
numbers.
do we have a soundbite for that? All right, we have increased from 25 followers to 28.
Oh, what?
Nice.
We got 3 new followers. Dang, that's not
And,
bad.
and,
We're
it's,
only at, like,
and one of them's
19.
not me,
Yeah.
so you can count another one.
Damn, that's 29. Yeah, Miles did not reshare this episode.
No, he did. That's when we went up 3. Well, I mean,
I did not on Facebook.
he was
didn't.
tagged.
He was tagged. He didn't
Miles, if you're out there in Texas, and I know you are,
reshare. Well, you're clearly not listening, and I don't blame you for that. Let's you know what soundbite I do have queued up, Dan? It's one I should have played earlier.
Jeronemo!
oh, he loves
so original.
He loves it.
He's not a fan of that.
it. Has anyone ever shouted that at you?
Yes.
Just every
Many
day
a
of your
time.
life?
I may have offended our guest earlier because
Nah,
I did
it's fine.
ask if that was a moniker. But to be fair, Dan made it sound like someone else was coming who I did not remember being named Jeronimo. So
Yeah, it is.
I don't
It is
know.
quite memorable. So.
yeah.
When you go and make an order and they need a name, do you give them a different name so none of them are tempted to shout Jeronimo?
Well, they're shouting it anyway, usually.
Yeah, but do they, instead of saying Geronimo, do they do the obvious?
Oh
Yeah,
no,
I
they
don't
don't
know.
actually.
Really?
Wow.
Oh wow! If I was,
I feel like
I need
that's
a
just
deli
like
job.
inherently rude to do with anybody,
Yeah.
despite their name. So it's like, and because they're part of like a company and like you don't want to get fired and shit like that. They
if your
just
name's
don't do that.
Stella, shout Stella.
I don't know.
I haven't
like,
seen that. I'm sure there's places that would do that, but
I don't know.
haven't
Like
been to them.
if I worked in a deli type situation and someone named Lisa came through, I would definitely shout like, "You're tearing me
You're
apart,
Lisa!"
Lisa!" Like I would definitely. There's no way I don't.
Before we get to Geronimo, I'm ready to rate this
Give it to me.
based on the fact that I can't
You literally can't taste
distinguish what it is, but I don't dislike it. I'm gonna give this out of 5 Lars.
Mhm.
2.5.
it. Boy, that's harsh.
No,
I
I'm gonna,
like it. 50%.
I'm gonna give it a 3 actually. The fact that this is what 9.7% alcohol,
Well, you're
and
gonna feel
I
it.
can't taste it one bit,
Mhm.
that makes it at least a 3. 3 out of 5 Lars.
That's
Final
not bad.
rating.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give this an even 200 stars. I don't think this is the first drink I gave 200 stars to. I think it's fine. If you're drinking a little bit like this, it's not too bad. If you're drinking the whole bottle, it's not a super pleasant flavor.
I imagine if you get to the bottom of the bottle, it gets kind of bad.
It does, and it's so the way it was described to me is the way I described it, where it's kind of like a lager, whatever, a stout, but not as thick. But it still tastes pretty thick to me, and I don't really generally like stouts. So
I like the
That's
aftertaste.
interesting
That's
Yeah.
what makes it 3 for me.
because I really like stouts actually. So.
yeah, and you do or don't like this.
I-
Your glass is fully flat. Our glasses have foam. Your glass is just fucking flat over there.
Yeah. That's because I got the one that had the head that was bigger than the.
Oh, shit.
Maybe that's why I'm just like this is
Yeah.
like a weird bad wine. It
That's
has no carbonation.
All right, what do you rank it?
I'll probably give it like 4 bits out of 16.
Dang, that's a overall.
That's a 1
And
out of 4.
I'm inflating that
Yeah,
score
that's
because honestly, like, I don't like this. I wouldn't buy it. But
if you had to average this beer out, it'd get like 40%. That is a major fail.
yeah. But I can see how someone else would like it. Essentially, like, I don't like its flavor profile, but I've tasted other things that people really like
Mhm.
that have kind of a similar flavor profile.
Well, here's what I'll tell you. The checker told me when he recommended it to me the first time, and this is my third time buying it, so I don't know. I'm still not sure how I feel about it. But he told me, he said, even if you don't like it, if you power through, it is 9.7% alcohol. Like, at the end of the day, you just
There are
like,
cheaper ways to get
plug
drunk.
your nose. Yes, but you've already bought this one.
I have nothing against it. It's the fact that I don't know what it is. It drops it down a little bit. So 4 to 16 bits,
It's
3 out of 5
very
Lars, and I'm a
very
little surprised that you gave this 200 out of 300 stars.
Because he
It's
bought
very
it. He's got
backward
to power
system.
through the stars.
Yeah.
Considering
I
last episode, you had the Atlas Session Cider, and you loved it, and you gave it 300 stars. But this one you seem kind of lukewarm on.
It's it's interesting.
Maybe because it is lukewarm.
It is a little lukewarm.
Well, it's a European beer. That's
Well,
what it's supposed to be.
okay, fine. You guys are all gonna be dicks about it. I'll give it fucking 80 stars. Yeah, get wrecked.
You're going to give it 80 now?
I dropped the score to 80. The
That's
score
one of the
changed.
lowest scores you've ever given now.
No, I gave us something 65 stars. I
He's
think.
being peer pressured.
Yeah.
Oh, at the peer review.
At the
At the
peer-reviewed
peer
beer
review.
All right, and that closes that segment.
Oh, one more thing. Peer-reviewed beerreview.tumblr.com. That's it.
Peer reviewed beer review.
Dan likes to point out that it's peer-reviewed beer review instead of peer-review beer review, but that would be awful because then you're just rhyming review with review. That's terrible. not that it's any better.
It's not the
but
worst thing.
it's just generic alliteration, not like an intentional. You can't rhyme a word with itself.
It's not clever.
Yeah. I was watching a lot of BoJack Horseman that week, and they really like the alliteration.
Jeronemo?
Where do you want to start with game development?
Oh, I guess I should first say that I'm a professional game developer. Hooray!
Yeah.
I just started working for a company in California about 6 months ago.
Telecommute.
Yeah,
Nice, getting that, working in without pants on,
getting money. It's
Skyping
real.
it in.
Not
That real internet money.
with Oregon taxes.
Yeah. So
Is that better or
We'll
worse?
figure that out later. I don't know. I'm a freelance contract animator. Even I don't know.
yeah,
You're like, I'll figure it out in April.
yeah, basically. I mainly work on mobile games, but pretty much just use Unity in every possible way I can think of.
That is something I had heard before. I had heard just go to town on Unity because it's cross-platform, right? So it's
Right. It's completely cross-platform. It can do 3D really well, and it can do 2D if you're like really clever, like
Mhm.
me.
That's right. Actually, Jeronemo and I have done a game jam together, and that's where we met.
Right.
That's how I know him.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
And
we're
if,
strangers.
and if viewers don't know what a game jam is, it's basically a torture test for how long you can stay awake and also program.
And for the artist, you make the art, and then you let the programmers
Yeah.
do all the
Then
actual
you
work.
just sit back and you're like, cool, dude. I made all the pings, the PNGs. Is that what we call them, pings?
I call them PNGs
PNGs. You said the whole thing.
personally.
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, that's where
You
that's
call
where
them
I go as well.
JPEGs
JP.
No, I call them JPEGs. That's my point.
and ZIP files.
I call them GIFs. I don't call them
ZIPs.
GIFs. I don't usually spell out file.
I think
file
it's
endings.
I think pung doesn't
Pung?
really like
I guess in computer terms, ping can get a little confusing. It has
yeah.
other uses, I suppose.
I'll
Yeah.
ping you. That's another.
How you
It can be
doing?
used for many things. That
That
term.
could be.
I'm finger gunning them right now. You can't see, but
Is that a
That's what I'm
computer
doing.
term, or
It's a very visual mode of humor, but he has described it.
I'll
which I
finger gun you
appreciate.
later? So you're a game developer, and I know you've done many game jams where you have 48 or 72 hours to create an
right.
entire game.
So Ludum Dare, which happens 3 times a year, is a game jam where you can do either the compo, which is 48 hours, and you have to make everything on your own.
Mhm.
So it's a single person making all of the art, all of the sound, all of the programming. But there's a much easier, and most people usually do this instead if they have a team, because it's the only version that you can do a team in.
Mhm.
Is the jam, air quotes, and that's 72 hours, and you can use you have to still make everything yourself, but you can work in a team, which usually comes out better because people are generally better when they specialize.
Well, sure. I mean, if you have 3 people, then instead of 72 hours, you have like 210 hours or whatever that is.
Of
200
work, yeah.
So obviously, you're not necessarily getting 72 hours out of your graphic designer, but it's more.
Well, if you can, that's extremely impressive.
Where did
You can get 3 minutes out of them, huh? I'm kidding.
Where did Ludum Dare take place in Eugene this past
Fertilab, check it out. It's super cool.
Fertilab? Where's it located?
It's down by the Holt Center. It's like right across the street from the Holt Center.
It's under the
In that-
parking garage.
Yeah,
right?
in the parking garage.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And then you were also part of Cricket. which
Yeah,
is another-
so this Ludum Dare, which happened a few weeks ago, I think maybe 3 weeks ago, sort of lined up with another thing that we had planned long before Ludum Dare was actually had a secured date. But we worked with God damn, I really wish I could remember people's names better. But basically a cricket farmer in town who farms crickets behind Burger King.
What?
Yeah. And we had a jam because obviously crickets have an image problem, right? So nobody wants to eat bugs in the United States.
Right.
Of course.
Because
they're a great source of protein.
yeah, they're really great.
But even I don't care to eat crickets.
Yeah, you're like, oh, look at that cricket on the
I would eat a
ground.
cricket patty, much like I would eat like a soy
Right.
patty or like who makes that Morningstar.
In the same way that you wouldn't like just see a cow and then start nomming on it.
Exactly.
See,
Right.
I like. I think I view pretty much all bugs the same way I view cannibalism. Like, if
Bugs
you
are not
fed it to me
cannibalism.
and I ate it and I didn't know what it was and I liked it, I wouldn't be super upset. But if you told me ahead of time it was crickets, I probably wouldn't eat it.
Right.
Like,
That's
that's
true.
gross though.
What if it was a patty? What if it looked like a generic patty, but it was
Well, if you
made of
didn't tell me, right?
I feel like that's worse. That's like violating consent.
It is, but if you
Are you
told
asking
me-
people to violate your consent?
No, but if you told me it was crickets ahead of time, I wouldn't want to eat it.
Have you eaten cricket before?
No,
It tastes
I'm sure, but
it's
it's
very basic protein. It doesn't
Yeah.
taste like much.
I know, but
People say chicken, but that's
it just
better.
looks gross though.
Yeah.
It's a cricket.
Well, that's the point. Is that
like bugs
because
freak
it
me
looks
out.
gross, people don't want to eat it.
Exactly. That's
Um,
how I feel. That's my stance.
Sure. Yeah, that's most people's stance. And so part of the jam was essentially try to shift the focus away from that
Mhm.
in particular. And the theme of that jam was going to be it was crickets are good,
Mhm.
right? So to make games in which crickets are either the protagonists or helpful or they're like power ups or you know what I mean, like
Mhm.
anything that is perceived as like a good thing rather than like an enemy or like something to be destroyed. And we were planning this like months in advance.
Sure.
Ludum Dare decided, I think 1 or 2 weeks ahead of the actual date to do it on that particular day, which we had already planned to do. And so they sort of without us wanting it to happen, became a combined event.
Okay.
Right.
What was
the
the
force merge.
Ludum Dare? For those who don't know, it has a theme that is only revealed on the day of the jam beginning. What was the theme this year?
Running out of power.
Oh, okay.
So
That's a good theme. I
So
feel like
were crickets the batteries then?
There was one guy who did something sort of like that. But yeah, the real challenge was trying to make both of the themes work. And so essentially it was just really loose. And we're like, hey, we realize that you can just do Ludum Dare if you want. You don't have to participate in this. But if you do, there are crickets on the line
Wow.
because the farmers came over and brought bags of crickets that we could win.
to eat or to
Yeah, to eat
oh, okay.
or to do what else?
Were they alive?
No. They were like they had I think they had 3 different flavors, and then they had the like just base ones without any flavoring. But essentially, a lot of people describe them as like just eating potato chips
Yeah,
because they were like flavored with like garlic powder and stuff.
right.
Oh,
Do you have any
okay.
left over?
No, I don't actually. I didn't take a bag.
Well, so much for the cricket cause.
Right.
I had a coworker who was really into the eating crickets or bugs in general, just the like environmental friendliness of it, and he really wanted to start a food cart in Eugene that served
That would be really
bug-based
sweet.
meals. Yeah. I don't think that ever happened. I think he talked more than he did that. But like we got the beer, like hashtag beer garden sponsored the cricket cart
Oh, they do?
Sure. No, I said no. That's like a request. That's a request.
Oh, that's a
hashtag.
request.
okay.
So you're requesting through hashtag
Yeah,
that beer garden take action?
yeah. Beer garden. Don't be so lazy.
Well, what's actually really cool is that we got a sizzle pie to put crickets on pizzas for us.
Oh, no way.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
So we had, I think it was like 6 or 7 pizzas, just for lunch for the showcase, and I forget who. I think maybe Josh went over there and just went, "Hey, here are these crickets. Put them on your pizzas. Experiment." And then they did, and then we got those pizzas.
That's that's one thing I will give Sizzle Pie that I don't think Mezzalunas has. I mean, maybe they might.
They're a little more experimental.
So it's
Yeah.
not on the menu. It was an experiment.
Yeah, I definitely don't think.
But if you asked for it, maybe it'll be on the menu.
I would
I mean-
honestly, I would ask for it, if not for the gimmick alone.
You create demand that way, right?
Yeah.
You ask for it enough times, they might be like, hey, a lot of people want cricket pizzas. Maybe we should put that in rotation.
Yeah. I'm down with the crickets.
Yeah.
Speaking of crickets,
Crickets. Okay, well, so we'd like to talk to you all about how you got into game development, but before we do, we'd like to do a top 5 on the show because we don't know what originality is and never have. But I was thinking, instead of top 5 Eugene oriented thing, I just wanted to ask you, as a game developer, top 5 games, and doesn't have to be video games. It can be board games.
Oh,
it
that's
can be
good. That's a good thing.
like tag, jump rope. Is that a game?
jump rope.
It's
They do the thing, the rhymes.
Yeah.
it's very hard for me to rate games.
I don't think it has to be in order. It's just
Sure.
like if there were 5 games you're like, I'm gonna go play like consistently for however long it's existed.
Right.
You're like, this is the game.
Well, I could start with the 2 video games that I've been playing very recently. But,
Okay.
one came out a few days ago, actually. Do either of you remember the Kingdom of Loathing? It's like a web-based game, like back in like 2000 to 2005.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
Never heard of
hard
it.
pass.
Okay. It's basically so good, but it has a meat-based economy.
Okay.
Basically everything in the game is a fucking joke, and everything is like drawn as if they're not a visual artist. So everything is like stick figures and like black and white and stuff.
Sure.
Because originally it was a web-based game, but it was actually really deep.
Mm.
They came out with a new game a few days ago called West of Loathing,
Ooh. Okay.
which is like a cowboy themed thing, and it's not online multiplayer. It's actually a single player campaign, but it's basically a Western RPG with like the ridiculousness of these people. It's really awesome.
I'll check it out. What's it called? How do you spell it? Kings of
West of Loathing.
West of Loathing. Okay.
Oh, how do you spell loathing? That was the word.
Oh, I'm not sure. Look, put it
W-O-T-H
into Google, friends.
L-I-N-G. Waffling.
hey
That's
now.
my guess.
I have at least what the hell on my phone. Okay.
And Stan's got notifications.
What is
Stan's
another?
got mail. It's a new
Oh
segment.
my gosh! Did we get another follower? Is that what happened?
Probably not.
All
Yeah,
right.
I really suggest checking that out. It's really cool.
Okay.
West of
Absolutely.
Loathing.
The other game that I've been playing recently is Elite Dangerous.
Oh, I have heard of that one. That one I've heard of. I had a coworker who was super into it, and he kept telling me how cool it was, and I was, because I really don't play a lot of modern games, so this is just like completely word of mouth comparison. God, what was that game that bombed at the same time Pokemon Go bombed?
No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky. He kept describing No Man's Sky, or he kept describing Elite Dangerous, and it kept sounding exactly like what people wanted.
It's very
No Man's Sky.
It's kind of similar.
And I was like, why is everyone upset about No Man's Sky instead of just playing Elite Dangerous? I didn't get that.
No Man's Sky is mainly like a single player sort of adventure experience.
Right. But it was promised as a multiplayer game that was just so big you'd never run into anyone.
Yeah, which means it's not a multiplayer
Right,
game.
sure. Yes, that's fair.
Really quick, it's had an update recently, and I have friends who said at least visually with all the customization and like the way the creatures are formed, it's made a big improvement.
I've heard a lot of the updates. Well, I mean, after the developer started, did 3 months of silence or whatever, right? I heard that the updates were actually pretty good. The problem was just like the launch was so disappointing.
I just respect that they delivered on the update.
Yeah, I mean,
they
'cause they
coulda-
did make their money. They could have just walked out like a lot of those early access games. Let's talk
They
about
actually-
your early access opinions in a minute. Or your,
Yeah, we can talk about No Man's Sky at length.
Yeah.
But
Okay, so tell
Elite
us about
Dangerous.
Elite Dangerous.
Elite
From-
Dangerous is essentially a space simulator,
Mhm.
right? What it would be like if in the future we're a spacefaring civilization and we have faster than light technology and it's not that easy, or it's not that hard to like just get into like flying around and doing missions and stuff. But the coolest thing about Elite Dangerous to me is that they've paid really close attention to detail,
Mhm.
and that you basically have to do everything manually. So like in a lot of games where it's like, oh, I want to fast travel over here,
Mhm.
or like, oh, I'm just gonna dock with this station, press the button. While you can do that, you have to actually install a docking computer on your ship in order to do that,
Mhm.
Wow.
and it's kind of a cop out, to be honest. So probably my favorite part of the game is just docking, like
Yeah,
flying into stations and then like landing on the pad that they tell you to land on. It's like just feels so immersive and it's awesome.
Cool.
But it's also extremely multiplayer friendly, I think. I mean, I've only been playing it for a few weeks now, but the people I've been playing with are awesome, and the community so far seems to be really great.
Mhm.
But it basically boils down to how do you want to make money?
Mhm.
Like, do you want to make money by exploring the Milky Way? It's in the Milky Way galaxy too. That's the other thing.
Okay. Is this on Steam or where's this at?
It's on Steam, yeah.
Okay. Both of these games?
I think it's been recently released on PlayStation. Maybe I'm
Ooh.
wrong about that. But I would definitely recommend using your computer because of the control requirements.
Sure. Yeah, I would imagine it's got a lot of keys to map.
What else
Yeah.
on your top 5? And when I say top 5, you don't have to think too hard about like what really is. Just a quick.
Yeah, I've got 2 things lined up, and then I have 1 empty space that I'm still thinking about.
Ooh, okay.
Cool.
All right.
So those are your 2 recent games. Do you have games from like the
Yeah.
history of you playing?
Yeah, I mean, I really have to just say like Portal.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Portal
yeah.
is
That's a
definitely one of
classic.
my hardcore favorites.
Portal was an excellent one because it was. I mean, I'm not saying it's like entirely original. I know there were some Flash games with a similar concept, but it added a nice dimension to a platformer, which is cool when that happens because it doesn't happen too often. Like Link Between Worlds did the same thing, so it's really cool and that plus adding great like funny plot.
Yeah, the
is-
characters and stuff
Yeah.
as you're playing. Just the.
Yeah, they did a really, really good job polishing it up from the original concept. I think overall it's something that everyone should aim for.
Mhm.
I think it's got like pretty much like a max time of like 40 to 60 minutes.
Yeah, right. It's like 45 minutes of gameplay, but you don't know. You don't. At first time, it's probably 3 hours or 4 hours because you get stuck in puzzles.
Yeah. The other thing is that like the puzzle design is like amazing,
Mhm.
and the fact that they have challenges for. I mean, it's just pretty much every like as a game developer, I look at Portal and be like, I want to do that.
It's kind of what puts Steam on the map, right?
I would say
With the orange
Half-Life
box,
did
right?
that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or like TF2 kind of. But yeah, Portal is definitely part of
It's a big
that
hit.
trio.
Yeah.
Yeah, Portal's an excellent game for sure. It's just a really solid slice of game theory. Like this is just
You put
And-
oh, sorry.
one of the cool things with it. It really that kind of gamer's high you chase. You get a lot of in Portal because sometimes especially if you're playing for the first time or if you're playing like the custom levels in Portal 2 or whatever, when you can't solve something for a while and you finally solve it, you see the spot that you can like hit a portal at, and you're like, oh shit, that was the actual solution. It's just like such a good feeling of like, yeah, I beat your shitty puzzle
Yeah. I mean,
or excellent puzzle. I mean, it's
some of the some of the I think there were a few puzzles in the original Portal that I had some issues with, partially because the answer was essentially look at the ceiling.
yeah,
Which is-
it
which
should
is-
look up a lot.
A similar complaint to like Zelda games, essentially.
Mhm.
That should probably be in there somewhere.
Zelda?
Yeah.
Oh, you'll find a spot.
Have you played Link Between Worlds?
No, I haven't.
It is. I will say it is almost like word for word the exact same game as Link to the Past. I mean, different characters, but same Hyrule map, and it does the alternate version of Hyrule, so it's very similar.
One of the alternate timelines or something.
Yeah,
Like that?
so like Link to the Past is like the Dark World, or no, Link to the Past is the past. It's just you time travel back and past. This is the Dark World, which is just alternate timeline. But the mechanic where you meld into the wall to get over gaps and stuff is phenomenal. It certainly like it doesn't really give you new access to the world because they limit your access to the world in different ways. It's still very linear. But it's just really it's super cool if you're kind of tired of platformers. You're like, ooh, this is so fresh.
Okay, so on the Zelda note, I'd have to say that Majora's Mask is definitely in my top 5 video games, but
Mm.
also my favorite Zelda game overall.
Sure.
Um, yeah, just the time mechanic and the sheer amount of like items and different effects that you can run into, and the different environments are amazing. Um, Again, it's one of those games that I look at and I'm like, I want to make that.
Mhm.
Like when I work on a project, I'll be like, how can I make this? Ah, man, there's too many.
Well, Majora's
It's cool.
Mask, that's often a topic of controversy in this.
Runner-up Mega Man, essentially.
Oh. A lot of people I know are split on Majora's Mask. I've never played it myself, so I have no idea why. I think it has something to do with people said it wasn't feel like a Zelda game. It was too dark or something like that.
Yeah, it definitely has really dark themes. But that definitely works for the like feeling like tension.
Sure. Yeah.
So like in Zelda, I mean in that game in particular, like the feeling of tension is really high most of the time. And but once you like go back in time a few times, then you sort of relax. But then you're kind of in this like weird sort of tense, relaxed state while you're playing the rest of the game, which is like really sublime.
Well, they did. I think definitely they did a really good job making Ocarina of Time a little bit darker from the other ones because it was 3D and you had a lot more going on. And they really took it a lot farther. Majora's Mask. There's a YouTube channel called 8-Bit Music Theory, and he goes through and he analyzes the music of a bunch of different video games, and he talks about the Zelda main theme throughout. I think all the way up to Skyward Sword, and they definitely they made the music in Majora's Mask a lot darker and a lot grittier, and that helps create the feeling of the environment being darker. That plus like the sun always being setting, and just the general darkness.
I gotta give it a play sometime. If it ever comes out on Virtual Console for, I'm thinking
There's
like
a 3DS version.
on 3DS.
And it's
Oh, okay.
probably on the Wii or Wii U console. I would assume it is.
I might get the Switch if it ever comes out.
Do they have
Maybe.
N64 games on their virtual? I think they do. I'm pretty sure you can play it on Wii or Wii U too.
Okay. Do you have your final?
What is your
Yeah.
last
Okay.
one?
So here's a little caveat. So the final game that I would have gone with, if it is a video game, would have been Mega Man, like the original Mega Man.
Oh, okay.
To Mega Man X. They're like equal as far as like I'm concerned.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Mega Man X.
They're definitely made in different paradigms and stuff like that, but they're both amazing. But because you mentioned board games, I'm gonna go with board game because my favorite board game is Galaxy Trucker.
Oh, I've seen that on the shelves
Oh yeah,
at the local game shops.
I haven't. It just
It's-
makes me think of Futurama.
really really good. I definitely recommend anyone try this game at least.
Galaxy Truckers.
Yeah, because basically what it is it's like a building game. So you have a bunch of parts like laid out, and you have to build your ship.
Okay.
If you like build your ship wrong, it blows up or like
Ooh.
falls apart. And it's like competitive. It's like competitive building. So everyone's pulling from the same parts.
Mhm.
So if somebody uses a part, you can't, right? You can't use that particular part.
It's like
Okay.
Lego's the board game.
Yeah, it's kind of yeah. And once you're done building, then you fly it through the galaxy and hope that it gets to one place in one piece, and it's probably not going to.
Right, Galaxy Truckers.
Galaxy Truckers.
So we got Geronimo's top 5, Galaxy Truckers, Portal, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, what is it, West of Loathing,
West of Loathing,
and what's that final one?
Elite Dangerous.
Lee Dangerous.
Elite
Elite Dangerous.
Lee
Okay.
Dangerous.
Lee Dangerous. I thought it was the name of a person. Elite Dangerous. All right.
Do you have a top 5 over there?
I'm top
Dan?
5. You know what? That's for
Top
the
3.
top 3.
Be quick with it.
Okay, Super Smash Brothers Melee.
Sure.
That's good.
It's a cop out, but I'm gonna say Super Mario All Stars for Super Nintendo.
Oh, sure.
It's
Is that
really
the,
it's a multi-pack
RPG
of
one?
games. No, it's just
Oh.
it has the original Mario, Mario 2, Mario 3, and then it has like the lost levels.
Oh yeah, no, because the Mario RPG is just called Super Mario RPG.
I don't want to do too many Mario games, so like it was between that and Super Mario World.
Sure. That's fair.
But I'm gonna go with Super Mario All Stars because you get a nice variety. And lastly, hard to say. I really spent many hours on it, so this is a quick top 3. Let me see. I didn't really think about it.
That's okay.
I'm gonna go with Pokemon Silver. I was gonna say
Ooh.
Yellow, but Silver just expanded it. It was like 2 games in one.
It was, and they haven't done that since, and I'm so sad. Because they have DLC now. It would be so easy to just add like Kalos DLC to Sun and Moon. I said knowing nothing about game design.
Well, and here's the
I
thing.
assume they're on the same engine. Just pop it in there.
Obviously, I'm a Nintendo guy. I like other consoles. I like I like Super Meat Boy for Steam. I'm a platformer. I like Crash Bandicoot for PlayStation. Xbox, I haven't really explored enough.
The original Halo is really good.
No, I played that with friends, but I sucked at sniping, so I was like, can we play swords? Just do swords, guys. But yeah, those would be my top 3. Super Mario All-Stars.
There's
Smash
so many
Bros.
video games.
So many. It's hard to narrow it down.
Let me break it down for you real fast. Crash Bandicoot, easy peasy, original. I mean, the first trilogy is all fine, but it's the original.
All right.
That's the one. You got Golden Sun, specifically Golden Sun 2, but the first one was also fine. The third one is trash. Don't even.
Golden Sun was great.
Oh my god, it was. Except for the third one is trash.
Never played it.
Well, they made it a cliffhanger, thinking that somehow it was going to sell enough to make a fourth one. That was a shitty move. So, don't recommend. Fuck you, Camelot. Assholes. It's been fucking 15 years making the game, and then you make it shit.
1 and 2 are great, though.
Yeah, Golden Sun 2 Lost Age, it's 4 times the length of the first one, too, so it's so much content.
Such a huge world.
And oh, God, I could, for hours.
Isn't that the point?
Yes, yeah. No, we don't have hours, but I would love to.
And the third.
Okay, so the third one's tricky because it's definitely a Final Fantasy game. It's just which one. Probably 9. Probably Final Fantasy 9. It top 5 Final Fantasies.
Yeah.
I think 9 does a good job of not being the pile of shit that Final Fantasy 8 is. Bringing back to the roots, bringing back to the crystals, sort of, and just referencing it. References even Final Fantasy 2, which no one liked except for me. So I like it. It's what it does really well is that the story is so kind of well crafted that really you can make a good argument for most of the main characters being the main character of the story. You kind of think it follows Zidane, but really all of them are so important in what happens that it's hard to say any of them, except for there's this one guy who's useless. But most of them are the main character for sure. And that's kind of cool because you don't get that in the other Final Fantasies. It's like Squall or what's his face? Cloud. Cloud's clearly the main character.
I'll take your word for it.
He's got the main
He is.
character.
I've
Sword.
only played Tactics Advance.
It's true, yeah.
Which I love.
That's funny because I was just gonna say it's a lot of people like to talk a lot about Final Fantasies.
Mm-hmm.
I've only played one Final Fantasy.
Oh god, please tell me it's not Tactics Advance over there.
The Tactics.
No. That's probably one of the least played Final Fantasies actually.
3 or 5?
It's not even a number.
Oh, Crystal Chronicles.
Nope.
I had
was
that.
it the Game Boy Color one that I can't remember the name of?
No.
Is it the one with the
Search
mobile one
deep.
that's-
The 3 girls that sing on the
yeah.
microphone, or no?
No, that's X2.
Okay.
That was actually pretty
I mean, I like the.
This is a good game.
I always seen the mobile ones and I'm always like, it's like $20. I really. So which one have you played?
Okay, so I've played Crisis Core
Oh, sure.
For the-
Crisis Core was
for
excellent.
the PSP.
Yeah, that was a brilliant game. That made me so sad. I played that before I played Final Fantasy VII. I didn't know what was gonna happen. Spoilers. It's a sad game.
Oh.
It's really fun.
It's really hammy too. But,
Yeah, well,
but
I
I,
was,
really
12.
enjoy the combat for that game.
It
It's
was
basically a hack and slash, which is
Mhm.
really cool. But you can also change up the ways that your spells work and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was because Final Fantasy VII had materia, but you couldn't really do anything. You could collect them, and you could select which ones you equipped, and you could level them up to level 3 or whatever. In Crisis Core, you could fuse them and combine them, and there were almost infinite combinations. So there was so
Right.
much stuff to discover. So you really felt when you
It's not
discover
infinite. It's just a combinatorial number.
no, okay, it felt like a lot
Yes.
because you only had one character and only so many slots. So you had fire.
And each individual version of a spell
Mhm.
felt unique. It
And-
felt important.
There was a way I think you could fuse them with items too to boost stats. So there was a lot. I mean, there was probably 100,000 combinations.
Yeah, I'd really
Um,
like to look at their source and see how they handled all that.
I remember I used to be pretty nerdy about it and know how it worked. Just without the source, but just what did what. But it was cool because there was you had fire and Fyra and Fireguard, whatever the standard Final Fantasy spells. And then the first time you figured out you can make Dark Fireguard, which sounds way cool and just blinds them. It's actually pretty much useless. You were like, what? That's way cool. And there were so many more. There was I think Mega Fireguard or whatever. There was a lot of
Yeah, there were
cool
a lot of
stuff.
modifiers and stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, there are a lot of
Pretty
game
cool.
mechanics, but it has nothing on the fact that in Final Fantasy Chronicles, Crystal
Crystal
Chronicles
Chronicles, oh God.
for GameCube, you could paint on your Moogle's belly.
That's where it is, boy.
Boy, I did not play that one. I'll be honest.
That's the one we'll see. I had a GameCube, and that's what I got. I'm like, finally, a Final Fantasy game that I can play. And I played it, and I'm like, wow, this isn't good. Is this how Final Fantasy games are? It looked beautiful, but but maybe it wasn't for me. But I heard other people didn't like it.
That seems to be the impression was that it was.
A letdown.
One of my other favorites is Final Fantasy Tactics, which is a pretty standard kind of
See, you
tactical
like
game. What is that? No, not Tactics Advance. Tactics Advance is a pile of shit.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, it takes plot and then doesn't have it instead. It just shits it all over the place. The original Tactics is what are those called? It's one of those tactical fucking where you have the grid games. It's one of the grid games where you move
Isometric.
I guess where you move your characters around the grid and you only can move so many squares and then you attack. A strategy. It's a strategy game. Why I couldn't think of that?
I don't. Jeronemo just shrugs.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. We don't have those on mobile games. We don't have mobile strategy.
I mean,
games.
like a strategy game is like anything that has strategy.
But I think that's
so...
what the genre's called, though. Like the
Yeah, but like
I know,
don't
but
know.
I was just
It's a
trying
little-
to think of the name of the
it's a little-
genre.
little limiting.
We could call it a tactics game, except for
It is.
they don't.
It's in the title.
I mean, it's essentially like
It's-
a chess-like.
Yeah, it is. I mean, so
It's like a board game or
as far
like a
as
tabletop
gameplay,
game.
it's fine. It has really the most immersive version of the Final Fantasy job system, which I won't get into. I could. I won't.
Oh, he could. He could get way into it. I was gonna say though, where are we on that time? Are we good?
We're at like 40 minutes. We have a
Okay, we're good. We're good.
But what Final Fantasy Tactics does have is a really brilliant story, which is a little cringy because they use the old English and it's a little cringy. But it's like, if you want to read a book instead of playing a game, I recommend Tactics.
Does it have the same people? Like, does it have the girl who has like white hair?
The characters are different in every Final Fantasy except for Sid.
I've played once. I can't.
No, you're doing great.
Exactly, right? Like,
We are hitting about 40 minutes. Where would you say in your next 20-ish minutes are your points you'd like to hit on, wrap up, or whatever?
you're talking to me?
Yeah, you're the guest. Game design, whatever we said we were going to talk about
I
at the
don't know.
beginning.
I mean, you guys can just ask me questions about stuff and I'll answer them. I feel like that's a good idea.
How did you get into game design? Did you start programming and go into games? Did you start thinking games where you wanted to be always? Or
I never thought that I wanted to be in games.
okay, fair.
I definitely. So original. There's a game called Homeworld. And Homeworld 2, which is basically like a it's a space RTS, but it's 3D. So instead of like StarCraft where you're all moving on a plane, it moves in 3 space.
I think RTS is the thing I was thinking of earlier. I said
I was gonna
strategy,
say
I meant
it, but
RTS. Yeah.
Well, RTS is real time strategy, right? So,
yeah.
What was Homeworld played on?
I was just a PC.
Okay.
Yeah. And it did have like PC and Mac versions, but
Okay.
I think it was made back in like 1999, or the original one I think was made in 1999 or 8 or something like that, or maybe 2000. I don't know.
The formidable years for Jeronemo.
Right. Well, I was born in 1993, so by that time, I mean, like it had already been out by the time that I had my own computer that I could play it on, right? So,
Sure.
maybe it was later. Man, I'm totally jumbled right now. But anyway, it was a really awesome game. It had really good, just being able to control ships in 3 space and have them fight other ships in 3 space. It's
Okay.
just fucking sweet. Like I really recommend. I actually bought the bundle where it has like all of their games. I think they're God, I can't remember people's
Have
names.
they done like a re-release since
Yeah,
1999?
they did 2 what do you call them? It's like HD re
Oh, it's you know what you're talking about.
Remaster?
remastered edition.
Up-res.
Yeah.
They had Homeworld and then Homeworld 2. They remastered both of them, and then they made a third game, which is not a 3 space game, but it's basically like a flat plane,
Mhm.
like Desert of Karak. Anyway, real roundabout point. Really cool game. I got into modding it, and so this was before I ever learned how to program. Before anything, essentially all I was doing was editing text files
Sure.
that had stats for like stuff. And so what you basically could do was copy a ship
Mhm.
and then put it back into the thing and then have it direct to that directory and be like, hey, look, there's a new ship that's available, but it's basically exactly the same as another ship. Yeah, technology.
God Can I say, Dan has had that keyboard all show and has been very respectful with it.
You know, you have to be.
I thought I was going to take it away from you, and you really saved it.
But I should have come in sooner with this when you start talking about space.
Yeah, so essentially all you have to do is copy a bunch of files and then like edit the. It's a little distracting.
So turn it off.
The note just keeps going. Oh, I should have told you. There's a sustain pedal down there. You could just kick that pedal on, and you're good to go for ages.
You're an enabler.
I know.
Yeah, so basically, all you have to do is copy this thing over and then be like, oh, I just want to change the stats, and be like, it shoots missiles now, and it shoots 500 missiles instead of 3.
Okay.
And
That
and then when
customization
play
made you like programming.
Well, I mean, it wasn't really programming at the time; it's just modding.
It's like CSS.
I mean, there are mods that are programming, but in this case, it's like really just very easy. Anyone can really get into it.
Mhm.
And then when you load up the game, you're hella overpowered because you've got these little fighters that shoot more than its mass and missiles at things and then blow them up instantly. And that's just really great fun.
Yeah, no, that's it's always fun when you can just kind of like put an action replay in and just like trash a game, like get fucked real quick.
But there's actually like a really during that time there's a, and I think they still keep it going a little bit. But there was a really active modding community, and a lot of people got their teeth cut on this game. Honestly, they've made like really really extensive mods, like whole entire ships, whole entire races with like new mechanics, stuff like that. It's just really cool. And then obviously everybody, like, because it's like a working 3D space sim, essentially, everybody like ported in everything from Star Wars, from Battlestar Galactica, from Star Trek, every like popular space TV show.
Farscape.
I think there is some Farscape stuff in there.
That's the one I was
Although
hoping
I think
for.
you'd have to search a little bit, but
I can do that.
And so yeah, I did that. And this was before I was actually going to college. But just before I was going to college. And once I started going to college, I was like, oh, I'll be a mathematician.
Mhm.
And then I found out that like mathematicians are kind of boring.
Yeah, a little bit.
I
yeah.
mean, like the theoretical math stuff is actually really interesting, and that still holds interest for me. But I just really like the real world.
Yeah, it's interesting because you went from normally people are like, I'm gonna be a game designer, and then they become something a little more not boring, but a little more simple,
realistic.
You went the other way. You're like, I want to become a mathematician. You're like, I guess I'll be a game designer.
Actually, that's not the way that it went out. I had a girlfriend at the time that was really into robotics, and she was. I met her in my math classes, obviously, but she was going for robotics, and it's like, oh wait, you do robots? That's a thing that you can do. Robots.
The robot world. What are robots?
Yeah.
Anyway, what'd she do with the robots?
Anyway, so I was like, oh damn, that actually sounds really cool. I want to do that. And eventually, after I got my community college degree and transferred to PSU, I was like, oh, what should I major in? I don't really want to do mathematics anymore. Let's do mechanical engineering. And so that was definitely a journey. But during that journey, they essentially expect you to learn things on your own, like big topics on your own. And one of them is programming. So like part of my school in particular is very hands-on. So they basically want you to build stuff from day one, like basically robots from the day one. And the problem is, it's like, okay, yeah, most people don't really understand circuits at the beginning, so that's a big topic to swallow all at once.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been trying to learn how to make a guitar amp, and it is I can't remember which like amps, watts, and current, which one does what. Let alone like actually do something with that information. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of information, and it's also wrong. In most cases in the real world, circuits don't work the way that they do on paper. And you have to do a lot of like tests and stuff in order to get stuff to really work the way you want. And so that's why I never became an electrical engineer.
Fair.
But they did give us a little bit of instruction on the circuits. And everyone kind of innately knew how to build stuff, because that's probably part of the reason why you wanted to be a mechanical engineer.
Right.
Because you're like, oh, I like to build stuff. Let's build some stuff. And so people like know how to use power tools. and you can build stuff out of wood and like tape stuff to it, like
Sure.
just bodge things together. So that's not a problem. But they didn't really give us any instruction on how to program. And the things that we were building are basically like little microcontrollers that are hooked up to circuits that have sensors and stuff on like something, but nobody knew how to program. And like I ended up being like team leader a lot. And spoiler alert: when you're team leader, you do the things that nobody else wants to do.
Sure. So you had to program a lot.
So I ended up having to program quite a bit without any instruction. And that's basically where I started to learn to program.
Mhm.
And then after I got out of school, it's just like, oh, actually, I don't want to work in assembly lines.
Sure.
Because that's where a lot of the mechanical engineering jobs are in assembly line like efficiency and stuff like that.
No. And that's when you decided, perhaps I will go into the world of video games.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I was still, I was
That is
actually
the sound
making,
I think of when I think of video games.
I was actually making my first video game while I was in school, just because I was interested, and Unity seemed interesting, and it was not that hard. And then eventually became profitable, so that's where I am now, I guess.
And you've made a couple of games. What are the for the viewers out there, if they want to find your games?
Yeah,
Yes.
give us your social media information.
Yes, itch.io. My call sign is Captain Nemo. I guess that's what was the moniker. Yeah,
Moniker? Yeah.
Captain and Nemo, Nemo.
Yeah.
And wait, H.io is the website you're on?
Itch.io.
Itch.io.
It's basically
ITCH.
it's a
Okay.
it's a servicing it's a hosting service that hosts games for free, and you can most of my games you can download for free.
Cool.
Yeah.
He's made some crazy games I've played. One where you can shoot a gun that shoots more guns that shoot more guns.
That was the first game that I ever worked on.
Is that still available online?
No, unfortunately, it doesn't really work in browser, because it eats a ton of memory.
Sure.
But basically, that game its name is Asilo, but the basic idea is that you combine weapons together, and the order matters. So, like, if I throw a bomb that has like constructed by bomb, gun, shuriken, bomb, then what's going to happen is it's going to explode into guns.
Mhm.
Those guns individually then choose a target and shoot bombs or shoot shurikens into people. And when the shurikens land into people, they explode.
It's
So
pretty
it's like-
amazing.
That sounds
and you
pretty
can do
cool.
any combination. Sorry, you can do any combination. So
Okay, so where'd the name Asilo come from?
I don't know.
Just like sound? You're just like, this sounds good? Sounds like
Actually,
Greek for bomb gun.
where it came from was when I was building the map generator,
Mm.
and basically I was building it with like 5 shapes roughly,
Sure.
and they were basically open room, no room, left, like C shaped, kind of like only it's like a dead end,
Sure.
and like turn, and then like hallway. And so if you place it out and you look at those things and you tweak them a little bit, then you can order them and they'll become the word Silo.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. That's really cool.
Well, there you go. What's the last game you created, and is it available online?
Yes. I made the last game. Last game I made was let's see, Super Funk Kaiju Cricket. It's from the Cricket Jam, and a good friend of mine, Mike Jones, did all the audio for it, and it's hilarious. But basically, what you do is you're a giant cricket, and you want to dance a lot. And in order to dance, you need energy, and you get energy by blowing up buildings into smaller buildings.
Okay, we'll link that in the bio. It's Super Funk Kaiju, which is
Super Funk Kaiju Cricket.
And now that is that's Captain Nemo at itch.io.
Yeah, if you go to itch, just put in Super Funk, you can find it real fast. It's the first thing that pops up.
Now, did you manage to do? Obviously, you got the cricket. Did you get the power cell theme as well?
Yeah, so that was the point. Was that you're running out of power, so you're shrinking,
Mhm.
right? And in order to stop shrinking and grow, you have to blow up buildings.
Nice.
It's got some good music. It's got some good booty jams.
Ooh, booty
Now,
jams.
follow up question. Was the sound made within your 72
Yes.
hours? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So
It has to be made. Yeah.
because I mean, you can make the game, you can polish the game after, just like not part of the competition.
Yeah. According to the rules of Ludum Dare, You have to make everything in the 72 hours or the 48 hours, but you can do bug fixes afterwards.
Okay.
You just
So-
can't add new content or new features.
So did he have like a sound studio at home that he sent the files to you from, or was he there in the
No,
jam?
actually,
like messing
he was
around on
there.
his
He
laptop?
brought a bunch of hardware, which is awesome. I actually brought in my guitar and did the main lick.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, that was really fun.
If
I
other
really recommend to anybody who's interested in game development
Mhm.
to attend a jam wherever you are, because even if you don't know anything, it's a great place to learn.
Can you like spectate?
Yeah, but that's a little weird.
So, so you have like, a team. You have
That'd be
to, like-
really strange. I've only been to one in Eugene and one in Portland, and be a little weird if there's a guy. No, I'm just here to watch.
Well, like if you know like actually nothing, I wouldn't want to like be on a team and then be holding them back.
So no, okay. So I encountered this actually once when I was making a game called Wizard Runner. You can play it on itch as well.
I have played Wizard Runner.
The incredible art was made by a local artist, and it was all drawn out. But anyway, the point was we had a team, and there was a kid there that didn't know anything. And it was like, oh, I want to be on a team. It's like, okay, what are your skills? What can you do? It's like, oh, can you do art? And they're like, oh, not really. Can you program? It's like, oh, no. It's like, okay. But the thing about Wizard Runner is that it's a platformer, and platformers always need level design, and level design is a really easy way to cut your chops
Okay.
because you don't actually need a lot of technical experience. Basically, what I did was I handed him a piece of paper, and it's like design 3 levels.
oh sure, okay. That's
So
pretty
that I
straightforward.
don't have to think about it. I can just place the objects in the world, and they were pretty well designed, and he was extremely helpful.
Okay, that's awesome.
There we go. That's my if I become a game programmer, I'll just design the levels for you guys.
If you come to the next jam, that'd be great. How can you find out about when jams are happening? Is there like a Facebook group, or is there a way
Yeah.
for people
So
to find out?
Indie Game Developers Association. So it's IDG. I always mess this up.
IGDA.
IGDA. Yeah.
IGD.
IGDA Eugene chapter. You can find it on Facebook. We post our events there. The next event that should be coming up soon is Game Test Night or Indie Game Test Night, which happens usually at Shuriken League, where everyone shows up and shows their game off, and everyone who shows up can play.
It's a great time. I've had Jeronemo and I have presented a game, and I've been there 2 other times. It's great. They often have like video game specialty drinks.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, Shuriken League is definitely where you want to go for your
Game Pub now.
sure. Oh,
Oh, that's
God.
right. They sorry, Game Pub.
That hurts my feelings.
Rebranding. You know what though? Good for them.
No, it's definitely better for branding because you're like Shuriken League and people are like, what? And you're like, no, Shuriken League, and they're like,
It's a reference.
where?
Yeah. Yeah. We'll all miss the old name, but you know.
I mean, a lot of us just called it League, you know,
Oh,
because
yeah,
it was
the
easier.
league.
Let's go to League.
The League.
Well, that's awesome to check out. When did you say the next game?
I'm not quite sure when it's going to be, but it's definitely our next event. It should happen within the next month or so.
Yeah, and the IGDA
Yeah.
page, Eugene chapter, they post very frequently, and I don't participate enough. I need to get in there more.
Well, we're hitting an hour here, so I think it's about time to wrap up. So once again, you are Captain Nemo. Now, do you use that on all your social media?
No,
you-
I mean, yeah.
If you don't want people to find you on Instagram, that's
No,
okay.
don't find me.
Okay.
Please,
Please,
I do
please
post on
dox him.
Twitter.
Please dox,
sometimes.
Please dox him.
I do post on Twitter sometimes, but my Twitter handle is a little hard to.
That's fine. can skip
It's
it.
basically Captain Nemo. I can't remember if it's an underscore or not, but
I
either
can
an
link it in the
underscore
bio.
or not. You can try one or the other. And every other letter is in leet.
Okay.
Oh,
because-
okay.
Does
yeah.
it start with the first letter or the second letter?
Second letter because it's every other.
Well, we know his programming
Every other can
beginnings.
start with either one.
Well, it says every other. The first one can't be the other.
Listen, he got his programmer
So is it
roots in
other every
1999.
if it starts with Elite C?
That's I don't
think
think that
I
actually.
Every other is a pattern that can go 1, 3, 5 or 2, 4, 6.
Well, it depends on what quality you're describing.
Is it,
right?
is,
So
is
like
it
if-
zero
if-
indexed?
So if you say every other is elite speak, then it's like everyone past the second, or like you know what I mean.
I've never heard this before. I didn't know this was an option.
I mean, it's just implied by English, right?
I didn't know that. I'm not sure that it is. I'm not
Okay.
sure English.
But if you were to
implies a
say,
pattern like
but if
that.
you were to say every other is normal, right? Then like
Does that
and
also imply that
but the
starts in
first one is
second
in leet speak, right? I don't know. That just seems right to me. I'm not
I
like
don't know.
a professor or
It's
anything.
possible. I've never contemplated that was implied.
It's a very stupid thing to be
I
arguing
think
about.
that's a very vague.
But I think
statement.
it's important because otherwise you'll get my handle wrong.
Well, I mean, they'll still probably get it wrong because like they just have to guess the leet speak for it.
Right. Yeah, it's not particularly linkable.
Make your A's 4s.
Well, I like for
Yeah.
like I always liked the
Keys are seven.
slash for in, and like the same thing for the M. But I don't know if there's like a single character you could use for that, so that kind of stuff could be really tricky.
Yeah, I think there is a form of leet speak that doesn't use any multiple characters.
So yeah, well, I guess because you have like if you're using Unicode, can you use Unicode in a username? Because shit could get real weird.
I mean, it depends on the developer, right? What they allow.
Right? Does Twitter allow that? I guess that's my question.
I don't think so. I don't think they
Okay.
use all Unicode characters. I'm pretty sure you're restricted to letters,
Like
numbers,
regular keyboard stuff.
normal symbols,
Normal symbols.
and underscores.
I mean, I feel like within the next 5 years, it's got to be an option to have a username that's just the poop emoji. I would really appreciate that.
Well,
Like,
you can add those to your I don't know what it is, but it's like an alias, right? You have your Twitter handle
like
and
your
then
flair.
like the name that you want to be recognized by, I guess.
I just feel like
You can add those to that.
why bother going and adding support to emojis everywhere if we're not going to start putting them in usernames? That's how I
As
feel.
we used to call them emoticons
No, those are
and
different.
smileys.
I definitely don't want to hype up my Twitter account or anything though, because I only post like once a month, maybe.
That's more than me.
Yeah. So that is the end of our episode. If you're looking for myself or Dan, you can find us at whatupeugene.tumblr.com, peerreviewedbeerreview.tumblr.com. We're of course on SoundCloud, which is where you're probably listening to this because we're not posting it to two places. That's soundcloud.com/momentsagostudios. If you have a question, comment, concern, or general other thing, you can email us at momentsAgostudios@gmail.com. Yeah, it's real cool. We
So
do
many
not
concerns.
own the domain. No domain owned there.
If you email us at that email, you'll be the first.
You know what we have emailed ourselves.
You can literally just email first.
You could be the first.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could say anything. We will acknowledge it on the show. We will discuss it.
We'll talk about anything.
If you're looking for Dan because you want to hire him for a graphic design thing, or because you want to tell him how much he sucks, at Dan Cost.
That's a huge
Instagram.
spectrum.
Probably gonna be the latter. So be it. As long as we get a
Keyboard
response, we're looking for results.
Let him know how you felt about his keyboard playing. That's KOSS, and then you do it again. Dan Koss.
Right.
I am on Instagram at Lars in the Studio. That's where I post the links to these episodes because I have to post them somewhere.
My name is Jeronemo, spelled with a J. My last name is Rodgers. You want to hire me to develop games? for you?
Rogers with a D.
Pay him to make your game, please. Duh.
Yeah, he's good. I've
Yeah.
worked with him firsthand. I'm not good.
We should release that game.
We gotta, you know what?
Put it on itch.io. That's what I've heard. I've heard it's.
I'll
place-
probably release it on Google Play instead.
Oh.
Just because it's an Android app.
Sure, that's fair. I think that's everything we have. You did bring the cards. I thought
I
you didn't
did.
bring them the whole time. I thought you didn't
We're
bring
gonna
them.
close out. May have to edit this down a bit just for time, but
Yeah, we'll cut out all your keyboard playing.
that's what we're gonna cut out.
I'm not.
None
gonna
of those jokes are gonna make sense.
My
without
do.
brilliant-
Exactly. I'm not gonna cut the references.
Here's what
out.
we do. We have this I've never cards. These I've never cards. We're gonna just do 3 of them. If you're uncomfortable, you don't have to answer. But also, we don't answer on mic.
Right. We don't tell the audience what we answer. And then you raise your hand is I've done it. Right. I always forget.
We let the reactions speak for
What is this
themselves.
like?
So, basically,
Put that one away. Yeah. Get us a
this
good one.
is a custom one.
Oh, was it?
All
good?
right,
Is it just a blank one or is it filled out already?
all right. Here we go.
Okay.
First one, you raise your hand if you have. I've never worn sexy lingerie.
Huh.
Well,
Oh. Is a hand gonna go up in this room?
I don't know if you define it as. All right, I
You're
think that's
like it was lingerie. It was not sexy.
I think that's a no. We're gonna go with the next one. I've never had sex while I work. While at work.
Well, at work. Oh, yeah. That's. Whoa. Well, you work at home.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
mean,
good
like
point.
how.
That's good. Oh, I didn't consider that.
Yeah.
That doesn't count. I mean, that is.
I mean, yeah. So then my hand doesn't count, right?
And the last one, I've never had sex in the bathtub.
Huh. That just sounds really uncomfortable. Oh, okay. Now we know.
Wait, are you raising your hand because
Like a bubble bath.
you're raising your hand because
Oh.
you haven't, or you raising your hand because you have?
I'm
I
not
played
talking
this game
like
wrong.
It's not like a bubble bath. Well, it doesn't
But there we
matter.
go. And there you have it, folks. Those are your answers. So
Nothing more enticing than hearing three average guys talk about sexy questions.
yeah, without really specifically saying whether they have or haven't.
And halfway through confusing how the game works.
Every time. And
That was at the end. That wasn't halfway through.
I always forget if it's like raise your hand or not, and I ask after the question in such a way that my answer is pretty clear.
And it draws more attention to
I'm
yourself.
like, am I supposed to
Right.
raise my hand or?
Studios.